Number 10. Camila Marodin. Camila Marodin, a model and fashion influencer, was arrested on November 12, 2021 in Brazil. Camila's husband, Ricardo Marodin, who police thought was the boss of an alleged drug cartel, was reportedly shot dead on November 7th, the same year, during his son's birthday party. Camila told investigators after his death that her husband was not involved with the illegal activity and that the murder was most likely just an accident. Camila, on the other hand, has since been detained as the cartel's presumed boss and is accused of being involved in Ricardo's shooting and the killings of 2 former cops. Her arrest was part of a military police operation where 14 other cartel members were apprehended. The military police went to Camila's house in the Pinhais to serve the arrest warrant, but when they arrived, she wasn't there. She was later arrested on her way home from her mother's house in the Matinos, where police found a Glock pistol she had hidden to avoid suspicion. Authorities also discovered more than 1.3 million Brazilian real, about $263,000 US, in Camila's account. A judge froze Camila's accounts as well as 13 of her properties, some of which were high-end, valued at 3 million reais or over $600,000 American, and suspected to be owned by the criminal group. Officers also seized 5 high-end vehicles, including 2 Audis, a Honda, a Chevrolet Camaro, and a Porsche, as well as a motorcycle. The police found 39 guns as well as 120,000 reais, which is about $24,000 American, in cash. The investigation is still ongoing. Number 9. Courtney Clenney. 25-year-old Courtney Clenney, also known as Courtney Taylor on social media, was arrested and sent to a mental institution after killing her partner, 27-year-old Christian Obumsali. Clenney called 911 around 5 p.m. on April 3, 2022 from her luxurious apartment building in Miami, Florida. When police arrived, they found her boyfriend had been stabbed in the shoulder. Obumsale was taken to a hospital by first responders where he died from his injuries. Officers determined the violence was a result of a marital disagreement since mutual friends of the couple had reported intense arguments that were normal in the couple's relationship. Neighbors in the building also said the couple had a long history of domestic conflicts and that the local police were frequently called in. Clenney threatened to kill herself while being held at the police station after the stabbing. This statement led to a psych evaluation which resulted in her being Baker Act. This happens when specific or aggressive suicidal tendencies are shown. Florida's Baker Act statute empowers police enforcement as well as doctors, mental health experts, and courts to send someone to a treatment center for 72 hours or less. It's unknown when Clenney, with over 2 million Instagram followers, will be released from the mental institution, despite the fact that she was detained on April 3rd. OnlyFans content was still posted on Clenney's account on April 4th. Details on her case are still ongoing. Number 8. Greta VEDLER. A Russian model who called Vladimir Putin a psychopath was found dead inside a suitcase. 23-year-old Greta VEDLER went missing a year ago after going on an anti-Putin smear social media rant, but the two acts don't seem to be linked. Dmitry Korovin, Vedler's ex, admitted to strangling her to death and taking her 186 miles or about 300 kilometers away before leaving her body in the trunk of a car. Korovin told authorities he spent 3 nights in a hotel room with her body, which was packed in a suitcase. The man then placed her in the trunk for a year while continuing to post on her social media profiles to give the illusion that she was still alive. In January 2021, Vedler expressed concerns about Putin's crackdown on protesters and desired to improve Russia's integrity by claiming she could only presume Putin was a psychopath, since it's essential for psychopaths to live an intense and dynamic life. Number 7. Slobodanka TOSIC. Slobodanka TOSIC, a former Miss Bosnia winner, was arrested in Croatia in 2015 and deported to Bosnia to face allegations of attempted killing of a local criminal. TOSIC was a key suspect and one of only 32 people targeted in Operation Doll, an undercover operation. It was directed at a string of gangland homicides and robberies worth nearly $6 million. The attempted murder of Djordje Zarale was the most serious charge put against TOSIC. Zarale spoke about the hit that nearly killed him and how TOSIC lured him into an ambush back in 2006 while serving a 20-year sentence for an unrelated murder. TOSIC was dating Darko Elez at the time, a rival of Zarale's, who police say ran one of the largest organized crime groups in Bosnia. Knowing Zarale was in love with her, the model texted him asking for a ride to the Croatian village of Pavlovac. When they got there, TOSIC allegedly gave a hand signal and Zarale's rivals opened fire on him. TOSIC managed to escape the assassination attempt though and fled to Serbia. Despite her dubious connections, the model's career took off when she was featured on the cover of Serbian Playboy and on a Survivor-style TV show. The former Playboy model was arrested as the investigation into Elez's criminal behavior continued and Operation Doll was launched at full force. She was sentenced to 2.5 years in jail in 2016. What do you think of this killer model? Let us know in those comments, and be sure to subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Number 6. Kelsey Quayle. Kelsey Quayle reportedly moved from California to Atlanta with her boyfriend in August 2018 with hopes that there were better modeling opportunities in this new state. Sadly, she was shot in the neck while driving through and drifted into oncoming traffic, hitting 2 other vehicles in her wake. She worked at a dental office in Riverdale and was not far from her workplace during the incident. The other 2 drivers only suffered minor injuries, but Quayle was airlifted to Grady Hospital in critical condition. Police on the scene thought they were just responding to a multi-vehicle accident, but authorities only found out Quayle had been shot after she was taken to the hospital. Her relatives said that she was brain dead and will be taken off life support soon. It's sad to see someone so young, with such a bright future, taken before their time. Number 5. Renato SEABRA. Renato SEABRA, a male model, was sentenced to 25 years to life in jail back in December of 2012 after being found guilty of killing and mutilating a man. SEABRA and Carlos Castro, both 65 years old from Portugal, arrived at New York City in late of December 2011. They saw some Broadway plays and celebrated New Year's Eve together in Times Square. SEABRA was a participant on a program called Pursuit of a Dream in his own country a year before, which looked for modeling talent. He didn't win, but he did land a modeling deal. He'd met Castro, a celebrity television journalist, on Facebook, and while the two were called a couple by several sources, others referred to Castro as SEABRA's sugar daddy. Friends they'd met in New York suspected there was tension between the two near the end of the trip, supposedly due to jealousy. The body of Castro was later found in a room at the Intercontinental Hotel in Times Square. Investigators say he was hit with his laptop and a wine bottle before being castrated with a corkscrew. He died from his injuries, and law enforcement caught SEABRA at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital, where he'd gotten treatment under his real name. The model was charged with second-degree murder and pled not guilty due to insanity. According to SEABRA's defense, he had a psychotic break and believed he was on a mission from God to assassinate Castro, whom he thought was possessed by a demon. SEABRA stated that after bludgeoning him to death, he wore his testicles as a bracelet and even drank his blood. Prosecutors claimed the model committed the heinous act because Castro was trying to end their relationship. In the aftermath, he disconnected the hotel phone and destroyed the victim's mobile phone before stealing $1,600 from his wallet. SEABRA was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder by mental health authorities, but the jury found him guilty of murder. Number 4. Simone Farrow. Simone Farrow, an Australian model, began working as a high-end escort in the 1990s after being encouraged by her own mother. Farrow, who was also a bikini model, began dating the bodybuilder and part-time model Brett Boyd in her early 20s. She later compared their relationship to that of Bonnie and Clyde. She and Boyd were in the process of launching an erotica website when they reportedly ran up a big debt with people from the criminal underworld. Boyd was disfigured by a postal bomb sent to his home on June 14, 1998. As the package detonated in his face, he lost an eye and a thumb. Fearing for her safety, Farrow went to California, where she continued to establish her modeling career and sought unsuccessfully to become a pop singer under the name Simone Starr. The former Penthouse pet, who was also named one of the world's most beautiful women by FHM readers, supposedly ran an international drug trafficking operation. She ran it out of her West Hollywood flat, sending meth to Australian consumers disguised as, quote, bath goods, or little fountain kits. Farrow, who had performed transactions under a variety of aliases, allegedly utilized her modeling job as a front and hired employees as accomplices in the scheme. The Drug Enforcement Agency in the United States soon became aware of her unlawful behavior, and she was arrested by Australian federal police upon her return from Hawaii in October of 2009. Farrow, who was in her mid-30s at the time, claimed her staff had used her bank accounts, email addresses, and mobile phones to manage the drug network without her knowledge. She then told the courts that her accounts manager, Xander Ryan, had acknowledged supporting her profession and opulent lifestyle in the United States by sending drugs to Australia, which she allowed to continue. Ryan took her life in Hollywood in October 2009, just days after authorities contacted him for interrogation. Prosecutors charged Farrow with being the kingpin, citing evidence that, in addition to being hooked on meth herself, she'd personally contacted buyers and threatened those in their debt by sending enforcers after them. She eventually pled guilty and was sentenced to 6.5 years getting released in 2019. Number 3. Bruna Christine Menezes de Castro. Bruna Christine Menezes de Castro, a Brazilian model, surrendered to authorities in February 2021 for failing to attend past hearings and court-ordered community service appointments. The 31-year-old model, nicknamed the Barbie of Crime by local media, was convicted of purchase fraud in September 2015. She accepted cash for 2 mobile phones that were never delivered. While the incident was the catalyst for her conviction, local officials stated over 100 people had complained of being tricked by de Castro, who failed to deliver their purchased items due to a family or health concern. The model was also accused of impersonating her own father in order to defraud her ex-boyfriend by falsely stating she had cancer and needed money for treatment. She transferred her money into at least 10 separate bank accounts. During sentencing, a Goianian judge considered that she was the mother of 2 little children and just sentenced her to house arrest, community service, and a fine. De Castro paid the charge but did no community service and missed all 6 of the scheduled hearings. Authorities had difficulties identifying her since she had changed her address without informing the court, prompting a judge to guess de Castro thought she was above the law. On February 18, 2021, the model surrendered to authorities after a warrant was issued for her arrest. Number 2. Yaimi and Claudia Ray. Colombian beauty Yaimi Ray was detained at a Bogota, Colombia airport in 2016 while trying to leave the country and fly to Miami. Carolina Muoz, a 23-year-old model, was allegedly kidnapped and tortured. The incident happened following a social media argument between Yaimi, her sister Claudia, and Muoz, who later told authorities she had made counterfeit Twitter accounts and uploaded unfavorable images of the sisters, allegedly showing them before they had plastic surgery. The sisters discovered Muoz was the one who posted the photos, and on January 31, 2015, they kidnapped her from the Bogota restaurant and took her to an isolated location in the countryside. The Rays subjected her to lengthy torture during their night there. Muoz later claimed her suffering including being slapped, bitten, electrocuted, and getting her head shaved. Her clothing was also ripped and she was stripped naked by the kidnappers. They then convinced Muoz to hand over her social networking passwords before posting nude photos of her on the internet. Yaimi and Claudia threatened Muoz that if the feud kept going, they would throw acid in her face. The pair claimed they could get away with it too since they, quote, knew important people. The victim was left in the street and later told authorities. Number 1. Liliana Vanegas. Alvin Malhi, a Canadian businessman, was in Miami, Florida celebrating his brother-in-law's bachelor party in late March 2016. 25-year-old Liliana Vanegas approached the 40-year-old outside Nikki Beach nightclub the morning of March 28th. The model, originally from Bogota, Colombia, was taken to Malhi's room at the Lowe's Hotel. He'd hoped they'd become intimate, but the model said she had too much to drink that night. After a few more shots, they fell asleep next to each other, but Malhi woke up to find Vanegas racing out of the room. He then realized his $28,000 Rolex had been stolen, so he chased her. She was able to escape after a friend picked her up in a Mercedes-Benz. But soon after, Miami police apprehended Vanegas and her accomplice and arrested both of them. It was discovered that on February 19th she performed a similar scam on a man called Robert Mochia, who she had drugged before stealing $30,000 in goods, including a Versace chain and a luxury watch. On February 15th, the career criminal returned home with a pair she'd met at the Rockwall Miami club. Vanegas took multiple items worth roughly $14,000 after they'd fallen asleep. The couple recognized her from a mugshot given to them by police. In the Malhi case, Vanegas was charged with grand theft as police continued their investigation into her criminal conduct, speculating others had also been victimized by the model. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be stuck inside the trunk of your car for 3 days, or be left dangling on the side of a cliff by your fingertips for 1 hour? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.